All right, thanks everybody for joining me. Today we're going to be talking about what it's like to work in a professional setting kitchen. You see a lot of videos not really talking about this, and for me and myself, when I was going into this profession, I just couldn't find a lot of things that talked about this, so I thought I would make a video on it and just kind of describe what to expect, what to look out for, and just some different things like that. So I guess the first one, you will be working a lot of hours. So that's the number one thing. The time sucks, the hours are long, they are in the most inconvenient times. You are working when everybody else isn't. You will have to work weekends, that's no exception. You'll be working late nights, depending on kind of the type of restaurant you're working in. If it's not really a commercial restaurant like an Olive Garden or if a Red Lobster, but if it's like a local restaurant, you will definitely be working long hours throughout the entire day. You can start anywhere before noon and end anywhere at night. It gets pretty difficult at times. It's a very stressful environment, that's for sure. It's very hot in the kitchen as well. Like yesterday, I was working and it was well over 100 degrees in the kitchen, and that's not even next to the grill. That's just in the kitchen. Especially if you work in a small area or just kind of more of an enclosed type space, then definitely you will definitely feel the heat there. One of the biggest things you should know when you're going into this is the pay. It is not great. It is not good. Something you should look out for, because if you want to turn this into a career, just know that you're going to have to get a lot of experience under your belt, and even when you have that experience, you'll be making average of what everybody else makes, but you'll be working more hours under more stress, under more pressure, getting less money for what it's worth. And that's just the hard truth of it. That's the hard reality. Sadly, if you're going to start off as a line cook or a prep cook, which is pretty much where everybody does start if they want to cook in a kitchen, your base pay anywhere in the world, even in Europe, it's going to start off about $12 US dollars. That's going to be your starting pay. It's $12 for a job that is incredibly difficult. All right, but some people love it and some people love to do it. I've worked in a couple kitchens, and you can expect to work 50 hours in some. You can expect to work 30 hours in some. It just kind of depends on the kitchen. But most kitchens, for the most part, you will be working more, well over 40 hours a week. Like I said, just the pay is just not great. Restaurants will always try to save money where they can. Something that people don't get right or they think is off is restaurants don't make that much money. I know people think they do because they're like, oh, you charge $60, $70 for a plate that's this big. But guys, you don't understand that 33% of that, they have this thing called the 30-30 rule or whatever, it's something like that, where 30% or 33% of your dish goes into overhead, 33% goes into wages, and then the rest of the 33 goes back into that food that you bought. So if you buy a steak, 33% of that is how much you bought that for, and then you just gain the profit of whatever's left, but you just don't make that much money. Throw a lot of food away because you look at food as money, you look at food as a business, whereas I look at food as something completely different. Most restaurants, you don't get breaks, you don't get lunches, you get something called a family meal. One of the chefs or one of the cooks just throw something together and then everybody eats it, but that's not really a lunch, that's not a dinner, because you're still standing, you're still have to do things. You probably take 5 minutes to eat it and then you have to get right back to whatever you're doing. Another thing why I think a lot of people fall out of restaurants, and this for me is the biggest one, is because when it comes to working in a restaurant, it's not all about the food. It's about time management, it's about how quick you can get food out the door, it's about can you follow rules and directions of how the chef wants it. And that for me is the biggest problem. When you work in a restaurant, you don't really have that freedom to go, oh yeah, this works well with this, oh this goes here with this, or you just don't have that creativity side of it because it's all how the chef wants it to be. And that for me is a huge problem. To me, that is not what cooking is about. If you're someone who likes just to follow a certain set of rules and just keep grinding it out over and over and over again, sure, that's fine, you can do that. But I work in a restaurant where you don't change the menu a lot. And some restaurants do. Some restaurants will change the menu every season, which I love that. I think that's a fantastic idea. You work with something, but it has to be a certain way that the chef wants it. It has to be a certain way that somebody else wants it, not how you want it, not what you think goes with it, because that doesn't matter. So just be aware of these things, that when you go into work here, just understand that this is kind of what you're getting yourself into. And if you love it, that's fantastic. I mean, I understand why people love it. People do it for passion. You know, sometimes it can get exciting. Sometimes when you just get that rush, when you get in that crowd in and you're just pumping out dishes and you're just in that moment, it's kind of almost like an adrenaline rush, or it's kind of a high, or whatever you want to call it. But so there are multiple reasons why people do want to work in this profession, but you're going to have to sacrificing a lot. Base pay, time, energy, focus, mentality. I mean, you walk into a kitchen, you have just energy drinks everywhere, people running off ibuprofen, and just literally anything that they could do just to keep themselves awake and just keep themselves going and motivated. It is something else. It's different than any other place that I've worked in. Thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you guys would leave a like or a comment or just whatever you thought of this in the comments below, that would really help me out. Thank you, and I'll see you next time, guys.